This video lecture has been produced using artificial intelligence with the supervision of Belhaven faculty. All right, as we continue our discussion on continuous school improvement, we're now tackling a really fundamental question. Where do we want to be? In this explainer, we're going to dive into how schools can craft a truly powerful shared vision, and maybe just as important, how to make sure that vision is actually being put into practice. It's that intentional, focused action that really separates the schools that genuinely improve from those that just kind of stay stuck in the past. So, why is the shared vision so incredibly important? Well, let's be honest. If you keep doing the same things, you're going to keep getting the same results. A lot of schools pour energy into getting better, but so often, those efforts are all over the place, totally disconnected. Without that one unifying vision, there's just no common direction. And that doesn't lead to progress, it leads to stagnation. This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Without a single collectively owned target, everybody is aiming at something different. All that collective effort has no central point of impact. The best case scenario is that people will kind of sign up for someone else's idea. But that's a strategy that's based on hope, not intentional design. In this visual, this illustrates the difference perfectly. On the left, in figure 9.1, you see what's called random acts of improvement. Just look at those arrows. They're chaotic, they're scattered, they're pointing in every direction. This is a picture of a school with a lot of good intentions for sure, but no central organizing principle. But then, look to the right, at figure 9.2, focused acts of improvement. It's a completely different story. Here, all the arrows are aligned, all moving with purpose toward the center, where you find the guiding principles, the vision, mission, purpose, values, and beliefs. That is the engine of real, intentional improvement. So let's break down the anatomy of a truly effective vision. A vision that actually drives change isn't just some inspiring slogan you put on a poster. It has specific parts, these essential characteristics that make it both practical and really, really powerful. A truly effective vision, well, it's built on a rock-solid foundation. It has to be based on a deep dive into data and grounded in actual research on best practices. But it's also deeply personal. It has to be created from shared values and beliefs. And crucially, it can't be vague. It needs to be specific, organized around the real work that teachers do every day, and supported by systems that make sure everyone knows their part in bringing that vision to life. Okay, so how do we build this thing? It definitely doesn't happen by accident. Creating a shared vision requires a very deliberate, collaborative, and structured process. Let's walk through what that actually looks like. So the process kicks off by grounding the work in evidence, looking at both the school's data and best practices in the field. Then, you purposefully seat staff in mixed groups. Why? To make sure you're hearing a wide range of perspectives. Before anyone even starts writing, the whole staff reviews the big picture, seeing that clear line from values to purpose, to mission, to vision, and finally to goals. Only then does the process turn inward, to individual reflection, where each person gets a chance to articulate their own core values and beliefs about what effective learning really is. Now, from that individual reflection, we start moving toward collective agreement. The ideas from each person are first brought together and synthesized within their small table groups. Then, those table group ideas are merged into a whole group discussion. And this leads to what is arguably the most critical step in the entire process, agreeing on the fundamental purpose of the school. And before any mission statement or vision can be written, these two questions have to be answered. Together, what is the purpose of our school? Why does our school even exist? Answering these with one unified voice is the non-negotiable foundation that everything else gets built on. Once that shared purpose is locked in, the rest of the pieces start to fall into place. The group can then develop a mission statement, go through a similar process of merging ideas to create the vision, and then, and this is key, determine the specific, measurable school goals that are actually going to bring that vision to life. And the whole process wraps up with some deep staff reflection. Now, the crucial point here is that the vision has to translate into tangible outcomes. The goals can't be these vague, fuzzy aspirations. They have to be clear commitments. For instance, a goal might spell out a commitment to providing a very specific type of learning environment, or building a professional learning community that champions defined values, or providing the exact resources needed to support every student. This final reflection step is really where the vision becomes real. Staff are asked to imagine, in very concrete terms, what this vision is going to look like, sound like, and feel like inside their own classrooms. This step is what bridges the gap between a document shared on a drive and day-to-day practice.
It's about asking, what do I need to make this a reality for my student? But of course, creating the vision is only half the journey. An unmonitored vision is, well, it's just a piece of paper on the wall. To make sure it becomes the lived, breathing reality of the school, leaders have to actively and consistently monitor its implementation in every single classroom.
Effective monitoring really requires a clear tool. The whole point is to observe classrooms not for some kind of compliance check, but for alignment with the vision. Leaders are looking for answers to these core questions. Is the curriculum we're using aligned? Do our instructional practices and our assessment methods actually reflect our shared beliefs? You see, this whole process is meant to be formative. It's designed to support teachers and ensure we're all taking collective responsibility.
The ultimate goal here, the thing we're shooting for, is to achieve what's called observable implementation. What that means is that any observer could walk into any classroom in the building and see tangible, concrete evidence of the shared vision at work. It's visible in the instruction, it's embedded in the curriculum, and it shapes how every student's learning is assessed. The vision literally becomes the school's culture.
So, as we wrap up, let's just take a moment to reflect on these key takeaways. We've defined what a shared vision is, and we've really established why it's so critical for moving beyond just random acts of improvement. We've laid out a collaborative process for creating one, and we've really highlighted the absolute necessity of monitoring its implementation to make sure it becomes a reality. And this really brings us to the final and most crucial question for you to consider. This is the bridge from theory to practice. Whether you're in the process of creating a new vision or maybe just revitalizing an old one, the most important question you can ask is this: how will you make your school's vision observable?